In the last two lessons, we learned about sexual harassment and how it affects students who experience it. We also learned how harmful it is and how it can have short-term and long-term effects on someone who experiences it. Today's purpose. Today we'll learn how to recognize gender-based harassment and the effects it can have on someone. We'll also learn how stereotypes about gender contribute to gender-based harassment. Learning about harassment is important because everyone deserves respect. It's up to all of us to help create a safe school community. Let's start with a quick warm-up. Is this statement true or false? All teenagers are on social media 24/7. False. Not all teenagers are on social media all the time. This is an example of a stereotype. Let's look at the definitions for a stereotype and a gender stereotype. A stereotype is an oversimplified belief or idea that groups of people have particular characteristics or that all people with a particular characteristic are the same. A gender stereotype is a stereotype based on ideas about female and male characteristics. What's the problem with stereotypes? You could have written, they don't apply to everyone. People can judge others who don't match a stereotype. People can believe the stereotype and limit themselves. They can be harmful generalizations. They are just beliefs that are not necessarily true. It's important to remember that stereotypes often lead to assumptions about other people. They never apply to everyone in a certain group. Now let's explore how gender stereotypes can lead to harassment. We've all had experience with gender stereotypes. Let's come up with some we're familiar with. Please write down one or two stereotypes about gender that you're familiar with. Some common gender stereotypes could be boys don't cry, girls aren't good at math, girls should dress like girls. There are boy activities like sports and girl activities like art and cooking. On a scale from 0 to 5, how harmful do you think these stereotypes can be? 5 means very harmful, 0 or 1 means not harmful. How can it harm people if who they are or how they act doesn't fit in with some of these gender stereotypes? You could have written something about they can be bullied, they have a hard time being themselves, they are afraid to be themselves, or they can feel isolated and excluded. Now that we better understand gender stereotypes and the harm they can cause, let's look at the definition of gender-based harassment. Gender-based harassment is aggression against someone based on their sex. This also includes aggression against someone because they don't conform to male or female stereotypes. As you can see, being purposefully mean to someone because they don't conform to gender stereotypes is considered harassment. We're going to watch a video of students talking about their experiences with gender-based harassment. As you watch, ask yourself, what harmful effects did the gender-based harassment have?
Class long feeling like social people arguing like on one hand.
So there's this boy that's in our class, and the girls just tease him about hanging out with the girls instead of hanging out with the boys. So they always telling him that he's gay and messing with him all the time, and that makes him very upset.
There were a couple guys who rode my bus and just spent the entire time throwing around like homophobic slurs and talking about how much they like hated and feared and felt disgusted by gay people.
When I came to school in September, it was a lot of conversations. People would ask their friends like, oh, is that a boy or a girl? Or like, what is that boy wearing? Or like, is that boy wearing a skirt? Just really ignorant things that I found to be really offensive and really hurtful. It made learning very difficult, and it made just walking from class to class very difficult, and staying happy and keeping my grades up difficult.
People would just call me like gay and like names and stuff, and people would just like pick on me and just make like left me out of like things, you know. I was feeling really depressed.
I felt really bad for the person they were talking about, and it kind of just made me feel like, wow, these people are really mean, you know.
It just creates fear, and it just makes people want to hide.
It lets people know that school is a place where there is this type of judgment and where people are going to judge you for how you express yourself and are going to talk about it and are going to perpetuate these stigmas. And I don't think that's okay at all.
It's hard to see people who might be different to be picked on like that. I like to see different because that's what makes us human.
Now that we finished the video, what harmful effects did the gender-based harassment have? Now we're going to look at some situations of gender-based harassment and think about how the harassment might affect each student. Situation 1. A girl is harassed for having really short hair and always wearing athletic clothes. How might gender-based harassment affect this student? Some answers could be she might get really upset or anxious. She might not want to go to school. She might feel like she had to change her style just to fit in. How might gender-based harassment affect these students? Situation 2. A boy is harassed because he's not into competitive sports, has a lot of female friends, and enjoys art. Some example answers for situation 2. He might feel depressed. He might stop being friends with the girls. He might hide that he likes art. He might give up what he loves to do. He might think that it's not okay to be himself. Situation 3. A girl who's really good at a male-dominated video game is constantly harassed online. Some answers could be she might give up playing the game. She might get really angry or upset. She might be afraid to go online. Now that we've learned about gender-based harassment and the harmful effects it has on those who experience it, think about this question. What can you do to help prevent gender-based harassment at school? It's up to all of us to help create a school where everyone is respected. Today, we explored gender-based harassment and the effects it can have on people who experience it. In the next lesson, we'll learn about our right to be protected from harassment at school and our responsibilities to create a harassment-free environment.